My name is Rebecca Hayes. I'm 39, and I learned the hard way that family loyalty has boundaries the day my own mother testified against me in my custody battle. Your Honor, my daughter has always been unstable. Her words rang through the packed courtroom like a hammer blow. She can't keep a job, she's constantly in therapy, and she's in no position to raise my grandson. I sat stiffly at the defense table, dressed in a plain navy blazer and crisp white blouse, my hair pulled back in the familiar no-nonsense style I'd worn for years. The faint tan line on my finger, left behind by a wedding band I'd removed 6 months earlier, seemed almost luminous under the unforgiving fluorescent lights. Across the aisle, Marcus, my ex-husband, smirked smugly while his high-priced attorney nodded along with every poisonous word my mother delivered. Clearly, this ambush had been orchestrated. They knew a mother's condemnation would carry tremendous weight with any judge. She's never been dependable, my mother pressed, her voice growing bolder. She vanishes for days at a time. Claims she's working, but I've never seen a steady paycheck. My grandson needs stability, and his father can provide it. In the front row, 8-year-old Tyler sat beside my sister, Karen. His wide, uncertain eyes tracked his grandmother as she painted me as a failure. Karen wouldn't meet my gaze. Her silence was as cruel as our mother's accusations. I thought of the past 2 years, long nights balancing case files with bedtime stories, the constant strain of keeping up with both my career and motherhood, the delicate tightrope I'd walked since the divorce. None of that mattered now. She lives in some tiny apartment. My mother piled on, drives a beat-up car, and can barely afford her child's school supplies. Meanwhile, Marcus owns a lovely suburban home and has the income to provide Tyler the life every child deserves. Judge Patricia Morrison presided, her face unreadable. A colleague I'd known for over a decade, she betrayed no sign of recognition as she listened with the impartiality her role demanded. And furthermore, my mother's voice crescendoed. Rebecca hides the truth about her so-called job. She refuses to tell us what she actually does. For all we know, it could be something dangerous or even illegal. My grandson could be at risk. Whispers rustled through the gallery. Marcus's relatives filled the left side, nodding along with grim satisfaction. My side, in contrast, held only a few loyal friends, people who actually knew the truth. Marcus's lawyer, James Crawford, stood with feigned concern. Your Honor, this testimony demonstrates that the child's welfare would best be served by granting full custody to my client. The mother's instability, combined with her secretive employment, is highly troubling. I didn't flinch. My hands remained folded, my expression calm. 15 years in the judiciary had taught me patience. Timing was everything. Ms. Hayes, Judge Morrison finally addressed me. How do you respond to these accusations about your work and your ability to provide for your child? I rose deliberately, controlled. Your Honor, I'd like to call a witness to clarify these questions. Confusion flickered across Crawford's face. We weren't notified of any witnesses. The witness became available this morning. I replied coolly. His testimony is crucial. Judge Morrison inclined her head. Very well. Call your witness. I moved to the double doors and opened them. A tall figure entered, dignified in a flawless suit, silver hair immaculate, his presence commanding the room instantly. Your Honor, I said, my voice steady but strong. I called Chief Justice William Barrett to the stand. A sharp intake of breath rippled through the courtroom. My mother's confident facade shattered, replaced with dawning horror as the state's highest judge approached the witness box. Chief Justice Barrett, I began formally. Could you identify me for the record? You are the Honorable Rebecca Hayes, he stated firmly, Associate Justice of the State Supreme Court, where you have served with distinction for 8 years. A hush fell so deep it was suffocating. Crawford scrambled through his files. My mother's face drained of color. And could you describe my professional duties? I asked. Justice Hayes oversees some of our most challenging civil and criminal cases, he said. She serves on the appellate panel for capital cases, chairs the Judicial Ethics Committee, and has authored several landmark rulings in family law and child protection. I saw Tyler's eyes widen in wonder, the puzzle pieces clicking together. The late nights, the quiet hours in my study, the stacks of legal briefs, all suddenly made sense to him. One more question, I said. Could you address my financial situation? With pleasure, Barrett replied. Justice Hayes earns $195,000 annually, plus benefits. She owns a penthouse apartment downtown, as well as a mountain retreat. Her financial disclosures are on public record, as required of all justices. Gasps filled the courtroom. My mother sat frozen. Marcus's lawyer stammered, his carefully built case unraveling. Turning back to Judge Morrison, I continued. 8 years ago, when I was confirmed, I chose to keep my career private from family. Not from shame, but to protect my son. I wanted Tyler to live an ordinary childhood, free from the weight and scrutiny of being a judge's child. That's why I lived modestly, drove a practical car, and never flaunted my salary. I looked at my son, whose small face now glowed with pride. My long absences weren't negligence, I said firmly. They were the demands of cases affecting thousands of lives. The school events I missed weren't from disinterest, but from drafting decisions that safeguarded families across our state. Barrett interjected. If I may, Justice Hayes is one of the finest legal minds I've encountered in my career. Her rulings have been upheld at the federal level. She's a national authority in family law. I returned to my seat, no longer the accused. I was exactly what I had always been, a respected jurist with a career built on integrity. Your Honor, I addressed Morrison, I've devoted my career to protecting children. I've removed them from unsafe homes, ensured fair custody, and always placed their welfare above all else. To suggest I'm unfit to care for my own child is an insult to the very principles I've upheld from this bench. The courtroom was silent. My mother's eyes glistened with shame. My sister stared at the floor. Marcus looked utterly defeated. I submitted evidence, judicial evaluations, financial disclosures, and a custody assessment by Dr. Sandra Williams. Judge Morrison reviewed them. Dr. Williams reports you are an exemplary parent, she said. I faced the gallery one last time. My family accused me without ever caring to ask about my work. They assumed failure where there was sacrifice. They chose prejudice over truth. Judge Morrison looked directly at Marcus's lawyer. Did your client not know his wife's profession? Marcus faltered. She said she worked at the courthouse. I assumed she was a clerk. The absurdity lingered like smoke. 6 years of marriage, and he'd never cared to know me. Your Honor, I concluded. I request full physical custody with supervised visitation for the father until he completes co-parenting classes. I also request that future custody issues exclude extended relatives who have shown they'll provide false testimony. Judge Morrison's expression hardened. Given the credible evidence and the troubling testimony from the maternal grandmother, I am granting full custody to Justice Hayes. The father will have supervised visitation for 6 months, subject to review after classes are completed. The gavel fell. As the room emptied, Tyler ran into my arms. Mom, he whispered, why didn't you tell me you were a judge? I knelt, because I wanted you to love me for being your mom, not for my title. His grin spread wide. I think it's awesome. Can you send people to jail? Sometimes, I smiled. But mostly, I help families learn how to care for each other. My mother approached, pale and broken. Rebecca, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I held Tyler close. Mom, you swore under oath that I was unfit, without ever knowing the truth. You chose to believe Marcus instead of me. Her tears came freely. I thought I was helping. No, you were destroying. I cut in. 15 years I kept my career vague. Not to deceive, but to shield my son. Yet in their eyes, silence became weakness. I looked at Karen, quietly crying. I became a judge at 31, the youngest in our state. My opinions are taught in law schools. I've spent my life protecting children, but my own family never cared enough to ask. Chief Justice Barrett approached quietly. Justice Hayes, do not let this discourage you. Your work matters. On the contrary, I told him, this reminded me exactly why it matters. Outside, holding Tyler's hand, I realized something profound. By hiding my achievements, I'd made it easy for others to dismiss me. Respect based on assumptions is hollow. Respect grounded in truth is unshakable. 6 months later, Marcus finished parenting classes and regained unsupervised visits. He never again questioned my fitness. My mother wrote a letter of apology. I never replied. Some wounds reveal too much to be forgiven. Tyler now proudly tells everyone his mom is a judge. He's learned about fairness, courage, and the bittersweet truth that those closest to us can wound us deepest. And me, I've learned that humility doesn't mean invisibility. Concealing your light doesn't protect you. It only invites others to underestimate you. The woman who entered that courtroom felt cornered. The woman who left carried her head high. The difference wasn't what I had accomplished. It was that I finally allowed the world to see it. Justice isn't only something you serve. Sometimes, it's something you claim for yourself.